Hello, today I'm joined by my guests from Dawsons Training Wales, Ricky Purdy, Naomi Webborn, and Kate Phillips. How you doing, guys?
Hi, we good?
Yeah, very good. It's Friday, as we've talked. The sun is shining, so what's not to be good?
We've got everything to look forward to. So, guys, I obviously have known you a while, and a lot of people are familiar with Dawsons as agents, fantastic agents that you are. Dawsons Training, each of you have got different skill sets. So talk to us, Naomi. Maybe you can start. Tell us a little bit about what you bring to the table.
So I've been in a estate agency for 20 years now. It's a long time, I guess. Been in rentals for many years, all my qualifications. And in terms of Training Wales, we've been with it from the start. So collectively, there is 50 years experience with us collectively, just about, I think. I guess I bring the niceties. I spend the money. Right?
Too much money, David.
Too much money. It's an investment. It's not spending. It's an investment.
It is exactly that, and it's proven to be a good investment, isn't it? So.
So, look, for those of us that are not familiar with the fantastic work that you're doing, maybe just outline what your solution entails, and we'll talk a little bit about the sort of people that you've been helping.
Yeah, I suppose on the back of what Naomi said and the sort of our industry experience collectively, which I think, we have got an awful lot of in years served in that regard, but we've also seen ourselves through lots of changes. How the markets have gone through good times and bad times, David, the legislation, the formalities and the changes that we've seen in Wales, maybe more than has been seen across the bridge in England. So all of that experience, as much as experience years served, put us in the position we're in now effectively, and how our Dawsons Training Wales arm came about. Ultimately, in a simple guide through our 5 years, starting looking towards training and getting our staff within agency being sort of comfortable and confident and getting to the criteria that they need to adhere to, so that we as an agent in Wales adhere to our requirements as a licensed holder through Rent Smart Wales. So setting up and getting ourselves to be able to train our staff was the starting point in simple terms, and it's just grown from there, very, very quickly, and it's been quite diverse as well. So we are now in the realms of training a lot of individuals, landlords that self-manage properties here in Wales, but live in Wales as a core business, but also over the bridge. And internationally, we've got landlords across every continent, all around the world, that benefit from our sort of the efficiencies of our online offering. And what's probably taken us a little by surprise in the last couple of years, but we've honed as a result, is our interaction with agents. So, we are now really, really key in training agencies, having their staff get to the criteria they need to, so that particular agency ticks their box as a requirement. So starting training our staff has turned full circle. We've gone through landlords that self-manage, through to not just small agents but large agents, and what we'll talk about later, charities and other bodies that benefit from what we do, because we are agents, not trainers. We are both, and we appreciate that and have tailored the offering to that as a result.
So then, looking at your USP, what would you say if you had to pick one? I know you've got many, but if you had to pick your main USP, would you say it is that sort of agency background, or is it different?
Yeah, I think there's for me, and I think the guys will say that the same, and are one of the two USPs. I don't think there is. It's very difficult to have a USP because lots of people do similar things or the same. Maybe how things are done differently could be it, but ultimately our agency background, understanding the difference between what an agent needs in Wales and what an agent needs outside Wales. In that regard, I think the USP is that A, we're agents, but B, we know the difference between agents in Wales, agents across the bridge, and also the difference between what agents need and landlords need as independent property managers, for want of a better phrase.
In terms of training, we are quite niche, obviously, in what we train.
But also we've had to work through the changes ourselves as well. So we have first-hand knowledge and experience of implementing the changes that have been brought in with the recent Renting Homes Wales Act, and also the adjustment to Rent Smart Wales in the first instance. We've had to do it ourselves as a company. And so we have that unique take and unique perspective on things that trainers who train a catalogue of subjects wouldn't necessarily have the first-hand background within the sector.
So that's interesting, because you've both touched on something there. Obviously, we're talking about your experience predominantly is now training sort of agents, people, landlords. You mentioned charities there before. We'll go back to that again later. But in Wales, to cope with the changes in legislation and your processes there, everything at some point got turned on its head, and you guys are seen really as the front runners of what we are going to experience in the wider market in England. And so, you know, I'm not saying you're just a test case, but you are the most interesting of test cases, because all this legislation, it's there to do something and to bring about hopefully a fairer renting environment for everybody. However, not all of it makes sense to everybody. Not everything works and not everything flows. So you do need to sort of work through, you know, where all the different kinks are and try and work out how to get it right and what best practice actually looks like, because it was new. And so you guys very much are helping to write the rule book that the rest of us are going to have to live by. So when you talk about training agents, it's not just agents in Wales that can benefit from your services. It's the wider market as well, isn't it?
Indeed. So whilst in Wales we need it by requirement, the Rent Smart Wales need every agent and every self-manager landlord to be licensed, which means they have to undertake training. It is very, very adaptable. And if somebody within England, let's say, has property over the bridge, they are going to need to undertake an element of training if they want to manage that property. And yes, it does give the scope and foresight to what may well come in England.
Because from I think from our perspective, David, is common ground. You know, so as Kate said earlier, we've been there, we've done it in terms of a very large independent agents from a Welsh perspective, having to do what we need to do, but choosing to do it more competently than we probably had to, and sooner than we had to, in the interest of us, our individuals, the colleagues, but also the people that we deal with, to give them the confidence and the reassurance that, you know, we've got their back, whether they are landlords that we manage or whether that they are agents that you could argue in the competition. You know, we're looking at the bigger picture of increasing that standards you touched on earlier. You know, that the basis behind our sort of Renting Homes Wales Act and our mandatory sort of body in Rent Smart Wales is that to improve standards of property, standards of landlords and standards of tenants. So being just contributing to that in whatever way we do. And like you say, it's, you know, we're at the start and the forefront of that journey. Will indeed help, and does help those in England already. We've got agents that have properties either side of the bridge and need their staff to be qualified as a result. So, you know, we're there, we're serving them, it's working well, and it's becoming an even bigger part of what we do in terms of the numbers.
Fantastic. So in terms of, we know agents are using your services, and I know you mentioned before that you're talking to landlords as well. No doubt there are a bunch of landlords out there that still consider themselves sort of self-managing, that also need to get compliant. But you also touched on briefly, I think you mentioned charities as well and organizations. So presumably, actually, the bigger picture is this extends quite far to a number of different people.
Yeah, so from the very, very beginning, we reached out to charities, local social housing, other local fellow agents. And so therefore, quite a lot of them now use us. So fellow RAN agents, well-known local agents, a local homeless charity, well, national homeless charity actually, and then national companies with retirement accommodation. So we service a lot more than people realise, I imagine. And also we're in discussions with a local social housing provider to provide some sort of bespoke training for them. But they are.
So really, you're well trusted and a very safe pair of hands at the moment. And I think one of the aspects I mean, this is just personal to me. I bump into you guys at various different conferences, award ceremonies, etc., and we'll come to that a little bit later. I know mentioning the award word in your office is a bit controversial because every time I do, somebody produces a trophy from somewhere. But
sorry, let's just move that to
oh
one
yeah,
side.
sorry, yeah, if you could just
Yeah,
put
sorry,
that to one side for a second. But you are very approachable, and I think your knowledge of the market and your ability to speak the same language as agents, I think, is really key. And so there's that sort of personable aspect to your business is really one of the things that you guys push quite a bit. So your lovely, bubbly, kind, warm personalities, at least you have been every time I've seen you. But I'm presuming in a classroom environment or in a training environment, it can sometimes be a bit stuffy and formal. And that's not the best learning environment in the world. We learn better when our guard is down because we feel a bit more comfortable. So I'm presuming that's part of the service that you really look to try and build on.
Yeah, well, I think, yes, the guys will expand on that, David, but you know, that what I suppose back to that USP from earlier, the personability and that sort of understanding of it is key. And then how we can get people to sort of, you know, lower their guard. It's daunting for a landlord or an agent within agency, members of the charity, members of all different bodies that we've touched on dealing with, you know, to ultimately, you know, sit down, get a lot of modules sort of, you know, sort of understood and, you know, take a qualification and sort of go back to the exams and however long ago it may have been before they've done something as formal as that. So relaxing that and making it enjoyable without getting cliched. So they do enjoy it and they take more away because they're learning more. It's not a must do box ticking exercise. We want them to better themselves. So that's how the guys come across, you know, on the phone, via email, in conversations and through our team calls and all that we do. When things go well, when things don't, when, you know, there's a glitch in the system, they can pick up the phone every time on every occasion and speak to people and know their names. You know, that just doesn't happen in the majority of cases. It's a chatbot or something less personable. So echoing that and enhancing it in classrooms is key, and that's part and parcel of us this year. You know, that's going to be the next journey or the next step of the journey, you know, going across Wales from north to mid to south, and then even contemplating, you know, further afield. But also minimizing the numbers. You know, we don't want vast classrooms at a time. We want there to be 10, 12, 15 or less possibly. So it can be interactive, it's personable, and it's less daunting. So, you know, we want those guys coming away every day going up, you know, what a great day that's been. Look what I've learned, look what I can talk to my colleagues about, and I've got my certificate, you know, as a byproduct. So that's where we're at.
Yeah, I think going back to what we said originally is the experience that we hold collectively as well. When you're in a classroom setting, when you're obviously learning on an online screen, it's not quite the same as in a classroom. You can give your examples, you know, moments, experience that you've had, and it puts that learning, then it gives them a bit more meat to that learning to be able to take it away.
So at the moment, we are still offering only online courses. So it's a modular 5-module online course for landlords or agents. It's 5 modules with a end of course exam. It can be picked up and put down during a period of 30 days, and they don't have to do it all in one sitting. But we are hoping, we're in the final stages of planning, getting our classroom courses out there. And that's when I think the fun will really begin.
It's great. I mean, online learning is fabulous, and certainly in the last few years it's really proved itself. But I think there is the connection that you get with people when you're training and able to deliver this stuff face to face. It's entirely different, and I think sometimes it could be a little bit more focused, and it brings up all the sorts of stuff that isn't on the course necessarily, because, you know, there will be bits of your experiences that you bring in as real life examples as to how you can use this in the field and how it actually plays out, which I think is fascinating, and it's what it's all about.
But not just our examples either, you know, examples from landlords and agents in the room. It's great to get a new scenario, to talk through something entirely new. I mean, we're always open to hearing of something new. So it's great to discuss that in person as well. But where we've been online, and it just being Naomi and myself predominantly who do answer the phones, our callers do call us and they talk us through general scenarios if they need to talk something through, and we do our best to help them whether or not they've undertaken the course. You know, we certainly hope that they're about to purchase the course if they haven't already, but we're there and we get a lot of fantastic feedback for our answering the phones and and then the wealth of knowledge that we actually can share, and our patience, because with it being online and Rent Smart Wales having to take their courses online as well during the COVID pandemic, there wasn't an awful lot of availability to for someone who isn't necessarily used to using a computer for that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And so for people to be able to give us a call, speak to us 2-3 times in a week if they need to, in a day in some instances, they'll dial through and come through to us, and we sit opposite each other, just pass the phone over. It's no problem at all.
I remember,
and I think again that's the level of personability that we offer, and that's the level of support we offer that I actually don't think is rivaled.
No.
And I think that's just, I'm thinking on that one as well. I think that probably contributes towards the success of those individuals, be them agents or landlords, that are taking the course and passing it quickly and passing it well, because of that sort of personability, and they're not people, you know, people aren't shy in asking, or not feeling conscious of asking, they're comfortable doing it. So, you know, the sort of the outcome of that then is, you know, people are enjoying it, doing it quicker, not taking the length of time that they can, and being qualified at the earliest opportunity ultimately, you know. So that's nice to sort of be part of that.
So you talked about great feedback that you've been having from people that you've been training, but I suppose feedback's one thing, but multi-award winning, those accolades on the wall behind you, the shiny trophies. So first of all, can I just say that from somebody that sort of knows you personally, knocking around the industry, it was amazing to be sat in the crowd to hear your names called out on several occasions to come up and pick up the award, and especially the big award there. For people who are not familiar with the best supplier guide, first of all, where have you been living? But this is it's a huge accolade, because when you look at the names that are in the list there, the short list of suppliers, it's the best of the best. It's a who's who of industry suppliers, and there's some really tough competition there across loads of different categories and solutions, and you guys keep coming out on top. So it's got to be an amazing feeling, isn't it?
It was a phenomenal feeling. I mean, I still don't know if we've really processed it, the actual gravity behind that award and what it means. I think we're still very much sitting on a very happy cloud over a rainbow somewhere. You were there, you saw our reactions. I mean, I think they were trying to usher us up onto the stage as we were in shock.
Was this mixture of shock and absolute elation? You know, you're all like, I can't believe this is happening. But okay, so Ricky, so you know, for you, why is this such a great accolade? Because I know you guys have won awards before as well, but this one is, I'm not it's the FA Cup.
I think
it's close.
I think it's, you know, from those in industry, or those, you know, sort of in and around industry, I think, you know, that the general consensus is, you know, these awards, you know, the masters and all that goes along with the guide are, you know, it's the pinnacle really, and what we would all aspire to be involved in, let alone, you know, sort of, you know, be fortunate enough to pick up an award, whatever form it would be. So looking at our progress over the last 2 or 3 years in terms of, you know, picking up the, you know, a bronze, you know, sort of placement and a silver placement, which we were really, you know, we liked and we were so appreciative of, was fantastic. So I think what last year genuinely hoping that we could maintain, because, you know, picking up an accolade and setting ourselves at a level to then maintain that, I think is as hard, if not a more difficult achievement than picking something up in the first place. You know, it's that continuity. It was the sort of enjoyment and the knowledge that the service that these two provide is liked and respected so much by our clients that they take the time to vote for us. They took the time out of their days to sort of recognize it. So that was almost, you know, I was as happy as I thought could be the case in that instance. But then to top that on that same day, that afternoon, as being recognized as the overall winner was something different. You know, I know the competition, I know how good the companies are that, you know, were involved in that process, you know, people that we would aspire to, you know, to try and replicate and be in the same conversation as. So yeah, I think it's genuinely as good as it gets. And I just wish that the public and the clients that we deal with outside agencies sort of, you know, could understand that as well as us lot in the industry do.
Yeah, it's just it is a major accolade, and I hope that they appreciate that. And I think, you know, the best estate agent guide certainly out there on the street is something that the public are now aware of, and obviously as a knock on from that, the best supplier guide has to give some recognition as well. Are there any fights behind the scenes as to who gets to take the trophy home at night, or do you share it?
I don't. It was never. It wasn't never an option, David, really, because I think Kate had it on the stage and only let go of it about 20 minutes ago. And bear in mind that was November, so, you know, read into that what you will.
So you have a massively loyal and expanding client base, but they're obviously very happy campers in terms of the service that you're providing. What do you think is the key to keeping that client base loyal, satisfied? Because it's hard, isn't it?
It is, yeah. You know, the guys will answer that one, and ultimately it's their involvement, David, I think, and they can expand on it. But I think doing what we say, you know, when it needs to be done, doing it from a personal level, and having that common ground in the interaction, the knowledge of being an agent, and having the confidence to call upon examples that we've dealt with in the past. I think those are key to it, really. And I think those 3 or 4 things put together are what people enjoy, and that's why I suppose what's important for me, maybe as important as a growing client bank, is the repeat custom. You know, so for us to have clients coming back to us after large intervals of time in line with the sort of license requirements and the timelines is important. And literally this week, you know, no, it is factual and genuine. You know, one of the charities that we deal with, you know, linked up with Kate earlier Monday and Tuesday, and I've taken another 30 members of their team to be, you know, to be trained and see the benefit of us as a provider. So that's a repeat business. It's from a very, very respectable and trusted company that we really, really appreciate being involved in, and in bulk, in large numbers. So, you know, I think that speaks volumes, really.
I think for us, keeping it going and obviously building on that strong relationships we already have, we've got a great relationship with Rent Smart Wales. That obviously helps, isn't it? We're able to get in touch with them when we need advice ourselves, you know. And building on our knowledge, Kate literally loves reading. She is an amazing knowledge font. So yeah, building our own knowledge and building those relationships and getting ourselves out there. I think we're up here, we're away from the public in some lights. So I think this year getting ourselves really out there and really pushing our comfort zones a little bit, I think, is probably
that was going to be my next question for you, as in what's next for Dawsons training? Where are you taking this? Where do you see the natural progression? But it seems that face-to-face and getting this out on the road is almost like the key to 2024 for you.
Yeah, for sure. I think Training Wales has got, or Dawsons Training Wales has got we could do so much with it. There is so much available. We can grow in so many different ways. So for us, I think it's a really exciting journey. Like you said, we're 5 years this week, 5 years from our first ever course. So we're back with those original customers again, making that initial contact. And yeah, there is so much room to grow. And I think so long as we stick together and we push forwards and get ourselves out there, that face to face throughout England out, you know, like you said, you're next in line for what we're already gone through for the last 18, 24 months. So from your perspective, we hopefully will be able to share our experience there as well.
I think so. I think so.
So, what's another thing which I think is probably key to the next few years is we've gone through an awful lot of turbulence and changes that we know have come to an end in terms of, you know, that mandatory need for licensing in Wales, the Renting Homes Wales Act changes, which has been really difficult for us as an industry. And, you know, you guys across the bridge have got your eye on how that can work well, what to do different, what to do better, and what to avoid. So that's a sort of a level playing field now, which means that's great for the customers, the agents in agency that we deal with, those independent landlords also, and, you know, getting in person, getting into classrooms and getting that sort of seeing the benefits of that, because we're not preempting what may change in 1 or 2 years time, and or what has changed recently as we move towards the end of the year, because we'll be 12 months into what is the new norm, if there is such a thing. So definitely, you know, hitting the classrooms, getting face to face and getting in front of as many clients as we can in their interest and ours at the same time. And then, yeah, you know, crossing the bridge and supporting you guys as you look towards that reform bill as well, and what we can do to ease that sort of burden effectively, or pressure, which is what will fall on you all pretty soon.
So we can hear the seagulls in the distance and the seaside, but let's get this right. When it comes to legislative changes, we could say, look, this hasn't arrived here yet. It's not going to happen. But that's going back to the seaside analogy. That's just burying your head in the sand, isn't it? That's not an approach that you would recommend to every agent.
Absolutely.
Getting ahead of this is part of making the pain less. Because it's one thing being, if you want to be dragged along and forced into doing something, then yeah, it's going to be really painful and you're going to be fighting against it. But if you sort of accept that it's coming and want to get ahead of it, talk to Dawsons, right?
Yeah, I think that ultimately, you know, if we had to give 2 or 3 bits of advice on how that would be the benefit, it's buy into it, accept the changes, they're coming. How quick they come is a little up for debate at the moment, but getting yourself ahead of the game. What you think will take 6 months is going to take 12 months. What you think will cost A is going to cost B. So preempted and getting that sort of head start, so that you've got that as your USP for your clients, for new business, for retention, but also, you know, for your staff and the agents within the agency to feel comfortable and confident, and, you know, ahead of their peers ultimately, which is what it's all about. And so yeah, we were a strong sort of advocate for that, and we want to help that process.
Well, a massive congratulations to you all once again. Hope you go on to build on this success, and I know that you'll go from success to success. And I know that the reason that you'll keep up on this is that I don't think you've got any intention of handing that trophy back again at the end of it.
No, that would be a reluctant handover. But yeah, we'll just look to emulate this year what we did last year. That would be, wow, what an even greater achievement if there's such a thing. So yeah, looking forward to the year ahead.
Okay, well, it's great to catch up with you guys. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank
Yeah,
you,
great to speak to you,
David.
David. Yeah,
Nice to see you.
We'll speak soon.